Grammar schools are making a comeback. For the first time in decades, there's a serious debate about whether to expand selective education.
What gets me to hit my potential and get the grades I deserve? You're looking at anything that gives you an advantage.
But what happens when children are separated into grammar schools and secondary moderns at 11 years old?
We are, in effect, talent spotting, which to me just seems a perfectly logical thing to do.
You tell a student when they're 11 that, oh, you know, you didn't pass this test. I think sometimes it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
For one term, we followed 2 GCSE students in their final year. One at a leading grammar school.
The grammar school want you to get the 7, 8s and 9s, and they will do anything to make sure you get there.
And the other at a nearby secondary modern.
I need to do really well because I need good predicted grades because it's getting sent off to sixth form.
To find out the impact of selective education as they compete for a place at the same elite sixth form.
Tanisha, you had something to say.
As the mock's coming up, I'm so scared.
Everything starts from now. 11 plus was one thing, this is another.
Hurry up, guys, quickly! Girls, I've asked you nicely. Come on, quickly!
Come on, guys, come on, quick!
It's Monday morning at Erith Secondary Modern in Bexley, South East London.
The person you have called is not available.
OK, Hope, the teacher in G24 hasn't turned up. She's decided not to come back anymore. I'm hoping that Kim, the supply teacher we had on Monday, is going to come in today. She sort of said she was hoping to.
Head of Science, Mr. Appiah Gates, is trying to make sure all his classes have a teacher.
Mrs. Lau's not turning up. She's decided not to come back.
Right, but you've asked Kim to come
Yeah,
back.
do you know she's coming in?
No, she's not coming in today.
She's not coming in.
She's not well.
Other way, please. Hold it off, please. Thank you. Oh, Calvin. Oh, you're doing G24 today?
3 from 5.
OK, well, who's doing period 1? Do you know? Good morning.
His Year 11 students will sit their GCSE mocks in 6 weeks.
Right, listen very, very carefully. It's quite important we need to talk to you about. Obviously, you have been massively disadvantaged since the beginning of term for about 4 or 5 weeks now because of the absence of the teacher I originally engaged to sort of teach you for Year 11. I'll be as honest as I can. So I employed a teacher who just wasn't here on the very first day of term. I then employed another teacher who was with you for a couple of weeks. Again, you were let down by an adult, which is unforgivable. I'm holding interviews this week. I'm not going to make any promises till I've actually got somebody who's actually, signed a contract effective with the school. It's the Year 11 group. It's a very able group. Contains students who might have ambitions to be engineers or doctors, and they don't have a science teacher. Yes?
Who's actually teaching us today then?
I've got supply. No, it's cover supervisor today. They are very, very concerned about their outcomes, as I am. And if they continue to have just a mixture of supply teachers turning up every day, it's going to have real consequences. It means that they won't get the grades they deserve.
Like, they did get a teacher in place who left, but the fact that it's all our teachers since then that have now been unstable and not stayed.
The only year I've actually had a solid teacher in is Year 10.
Mine was Year 9.
In Year 7, my teacher left a few months in.
Year 8.
Year 8, I didn't have a solid teacher. Year 9, I didn't.
Now that we've got supplies, all of the hours are adding up. We have to constantly hear, like, you've got this many hours left until you actually sit your exams. And to know, like, slowly by slowly, they're all being lost.
Denisa is one of Erith's high-achieving students. She's in the top band for all her subjects. But to achieve her potential and get into a good sixth form, she's going to need a science teacher.
I want to make sure that I get a good grade so it doesn't affect me from getting the place or not at sixth form. But at the moment, all that's fueling me and all that's motivating me is getting those good GCSE results. This year is nothing like the others. I think the other years were so much more laid back. And then this one, it's really important for you and you can't mess up.
There's a national shortage of teachers. But schools like Erith are particularly hard hit. When head teacher Stephanie Allen took over a year and a half ago, the school was struggling, and last year's GCSE results were a nasty shock.
They were a lot lower than what we anticipated. So I know overall we've let down those students because they were not predicted that. So on the day of results day, when the children were coming in, yeah, I was, I found it very difficult. There were some very disappointed students, and there were tears. And I could have cried with them as well, because I just think we've let them down. So we've got students who, 5 years, we should be improving their life chances.
You just go there, Mr. Kit, yeah, the big queue there.
Their credentials or their qualifications will affect the next steps. So I think we need to remind ourselves that the core reason that we're here is to improve the life chances of all our students of all abilities.
Year 9s, please be seated.
Stephanie and her staff have to face up to some hard truths.
So all I want to say is that I don't want to go back into the detail of this. All I know is that we are disappointed. The levels of progress were poor, so poor that it's. I mean, just looking at them again today, because I've just printed this off, and it's frightening. It's just. I just want to go class by class. It's frightening. So when they came in year 7, so those 4 years, those 5 years, they've got nothing to show for it. I just think we let them down. We let them down for not just for that year, but for 4 years, because I don't think they showed anything since they started Erith School.
Some Erith students get excellent results, but overall the school's GCSE results are poor. In the new marking system, a grade 5 is equivalent to an upper C. Only 23% of Erith students managed a grade 5 in both English and maths last year, well below the national average.
Oh, by the way, another thing about Latin pronunciation is V's, you pronounce them like W's. So Sir Wus, not Sir Vus.
2 miles away at Townley, an all-girls grammar school, 98% reached that level. Head teacher Desmond Dean is a strong believer in the benefits of grammar schools. His results match some of Britain's top private schools.
We do teach Latin, yes, and we do classical civilization at GCSE and at A level as well.
We perform highly nationally at both at GCSE and at A level, but in a wider context, we're successful in terms of the destinations of our students. Vast majority going on to Russell Group universities, getting their first choices at university, going on to successful careers.
On most measures, there's a chasm between this school and its neighbour, Erith Secondary Modern. It's perhaps hardly surprising. In this borough, most children take the 11+ selection test in primary school. Local grammars like Townley take pupils from the top 20%.
Which is 80. Obviously, you haven't gone away and spent your big, long 3-day weekend thinking about trigonometric graphs. Of course it'll be in your marks. Everything that we're doing will be in your marks. I've told you that. Everything can be in your mark.
Here at Townley, revision for GCSE mocks is well underway.
You find that the value of x is 32. Tanisha, you had something to say. Okay.
What's everyone talking about the inverse? Why do you need the inverse?
You are looking to find what the x is on its own.
Standards are so high that some girls find it hard to keep up. 16-year-old Tanisha is struggling to get the grades she needs for sixth form.
Have you got all the answers? Gemma's got all the answers. Bola has all the answers. Shajuti does. Manisha does. Anybody else?
Tanisha's halfway.
Okay, ladies, are we ready?
Where did Miss get 540 from? I was quite smart in primary school. And then I came to this school and I literally just dropped. I was just average, and that knocked my self-confidence a lot. If I went to a non-grammar school and I was a little bit higher, I think I would have taken things more seriously because I would have started to push myself.
Maria, what will you do to find your second value?
You would take it away from 180.
Excellent, okay? In your little books.
My main aim is to see straight 7s all the way down. As the mock's coming up as well, there's a lot of pressure.
Ta-da! Okay, so what I did then was I put it on 6 volts just to see if anything would happen then, and it went like this.
Unlike Erith, all the GCSE science lessons here at Townley have a science teacher.
Are you going to do the whole lot, yeah?
In your groups, appoint somebody who's going to go up and get the apparatus, someone who's getting the flag.
But the school has been affected by the national shortage. They're missing a single teacher to teach the younger kids.
Graduates that graduate with, chemistry, physics, computer science, maths, there's so many opportunities for them in industry that are very, very well paid, and therefore teaching just doesn't compete with that, unfortunately.
To plug the gap, they've asked one of last year's many outstanding A-level students to give it a go.
Hello. Hello. So if I'm taking the job on full time, am I going to be teaching the whole time for the whole week that I'm going to be
No,
here?
not at all. So we're looking at most probably giving you between 10 to 12 lessons throughout the whole week.
Yeah.
So you'll have lots of time outside of lesson time to be able to plan, prepare, observe. Obviously you're a Townley girl, so you know what the science lessons are about, but it's a bit different when you're standing at the front of the room rather than sitting behind the desk.
Hey girls, do you want to come in?
Ms. Voon is on a gap year while she waits to hear if she's got a place at Harvard. A perfect role model for the Year 7 girls.
Today is a physics lesson. Does everyone have their physics books? Yeah. Yep. I want you to discuss with the person next to you the statement, in space, no one can hear you scream. Is that true or false, and why?
Oxygen. Things that start choking and then you die. Either way, even if you are in the suit, no one's going to hear you because it's in an enclosed area.
In space, there's actually no particles at all. So what do you think that tells you about sound in space?
Would that mean it wouldn't travel?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was right.
Oh my gosh. It's something that we're having to do nowadays because of the recruitment crisis. We are having to look at more out-of-the-box ways of thinking of how we can recruit teachers into the role.
Let's try it in the water and look at the vibrations. Oh, that was a good one. Okay, who's finished? They're so intelligent and they want to learn. I was teaching the solar system the other day and someone asked me about dark matter. And I couldn't even answer the question. My concern should be, do I know the topic in depth enough to teach it to them really well, rather than how am I going to control the class? Because yeah, there's not really a problem with that at all. Okay, 3, 2, 1. I think I wouldn't be able to handle a class that I couldn't control easily. Okay, and you can go. It's all right?
Do you know, shall we check science office? Do you know where Mr. Gates is? Right, thank you. Let's go to the science office.
Denisa, Summer and Paige haven't had a science teacher for 5 weeks now, and they're worried it's going to affect their exam results.
We've lost a half term of work.
Yeah, you have, absolutely.
How are we going to pull that back?
The question was about sort of what we're doing to fill in for the fact that you haven't had a teacher the last few weeks. Beginning of the week, I was quite wedded to the idea of rotating teachers around on a fortnightly cycle, but we might be able to come up with a third option, which is even better, where you'd be working with teachers who you're sort of familiar with.
Yeah, I prefer that.
Students who make the biggest leaps are those who invest time in preparing for the exams. So we'll organise a revision programme, and then more importantly, practice questions and make sure that they can produce model answers.
It's hard to learn the stuff that you don't know, because like today in the lesson I would happily take that textbook and go and do all the questions, but I don't know what I'm doing it on. If I knew how to learn it all out of a textbook, I wouldn't be having this complaint because I do it all at home. I need someone to teach me it.
I'm spending the rest of the day working on that, so I'm not planning on leaving till about 6:30 this evening. I've got a meeting with Mr. Davis and we're going to come up with a solution. Okay?
Yeah.
So might better get on with it.
Yeah, okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
It makes me feel really, really upset, genuinely upset. I had 3 girls come to see me yesterday in tears. And of course you share that. And I don't feel too far from that myself at times, to be honest. It keeps me awake at night.
Like many kids who missed out on selection at 11, Denise's dream is to get to Townley Grammar for the sixth form. But she'll need a good grade in science to make it.
We're going to sit mocks, and not having a teacher is really affecting us. For me to get into Townley sixth form, you need a 6, which I think in the old system that's about a B. But I just want to make sure that I get the grade so I can go, because I really want to go to Townley.
In the science department, Mr. Appiah Gates is still desperately trying to recruit new teachers.
We have 2 ordinary teacher positions, and I have another vacancy for a Key Stage 3 coordinator. More or less the quarter of the faculty. And it's the beginning of October, so that's not good. So it's in every type of school, but it's particularly bad in, I'll say, a non-selective school when we're competing against vacancies which might appear in neighbouring selective schools.
Put it away, please. Hey, I'm not starting until you're quiet. Every time I have to count, I'm taking 5 minutes after school. 1.
Here at Erith, it's a bit more of a challenge to control the science class than at the grammar school.
3. That's 15. Shall we make it half an hour? 4.
But the hard-pressed science department may have found a saviour.
Otherwise, you're going to do it outside. Okay, if you're going to be able to create a role play to explain the properties of solids, liquids, and gases. What's in here? Solids. Liquid.
What's in here?
Hey! Excuse me, what?
South African temporary teacher Kerin van der Westhuizen is interested in a permanent job.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I should not have to count, number 1. Number 2, I should not have to count to 12. We have rules. Hands up. Let me come to you. Let me ask. The children in South Africa that I've had the experience teaching are a lot more, a little bit more disciplined, a little bit more structured, but they're not near as vibrant or as intrigued.
Will we be learning how to make thermite in science? It's technically an explosive that's kind of like gunpowder.
Kids here, they're quite interested in the science. They battle with their behaviour and a little bit of the discipline sometimes, and they get distracted very easily. Can you put it away? Who's heard of the word proton?
Proton!
Ah!
Protein!
Show me how your particles move, please.
Oh, yeah. 2, 1, guys.
Guys, come on, just show me.
Everyone do the Chris Brown.
I have applied for a permanent post. At the moment, I've got a very short contract, a couple of months. I have an interview tomorrow, so an interview lesson with a Year 7 class. Okay, good afternoon. We see you tomorrow.
With time running out before the mocks, Mr. Appiah Gates has taken things into his own hands. He's squeezing in some early morning catch-up lessons.
Hopefully, during these Tuesday morning sessions, if we can sort of fit them in every fortnight, we could have as much as an hour, maybe even an hour and a half, if you can get here by 8:30. I don't know if that's possible. And it'll be a useful opportunity for me to go through some of the practical aspects of GCSE science that you might have missed out on this half term. OK, we are very, very short of time, so I do need to make a start immediately. So today, I want to show you fractional distillation. OK? And this is the principle of crude oil separation.
Actually went really well. I was quite happy with it, even though it was only about 10 minutes.
But I feel like if that was to continue for more than 10 minutes, say for example, if we have them every single Tuesday, we could actually learn something.
If we had him for 4 hours, it would really help.
And he said himself that we can still catch up.
Yeah.
So I think with him, every single Tuesday we can catch up.
That was definitely something better than nothing.
Today's the day Mr. Appiah Gates is hoping to appoint his new science teacher. but there's a nasty surprise in his inbox.
So this is an email I got from Kevin, and you can see in bold right in the middle of the email, I'm unfortunately going to have to withdraw myself from the interview tomorrow and the science post at Erith School. And that's kind of what I have to deal with. I'm spending every free moment of my time filling in gaps for missing teachers. And it's not functional. I can't continue running the faculty like this. It's just going to fall apart if I have to spend all my time trying to recruit teachers.
For chromium, we're then moving into the 3D orbitals, whereas the manganese, we're staying in that 4s orbital, okay? Excellent.
There is a real shortage, therefore there's a lot of teachers who will not make that decision to come to Erith School. If you've got a choice, like the parents have got a choice, but if they're in a position to go to a grammar school, they will. Probably similar to with a teacher, because they will see that a non-selective school, the assumption is that it's more challenging.
I think on the surface it might appear that being a selective education you have an advantage in terms of recruiting, but from the inside what I see is it's really difficult to get teachers who are capable of teaching in this environment.
Yeah? So now try the second one. That's
And
the
actually,
first
if you're going to teach our students A-level chemistry or physics or whatever it is, you really need to know your stuff.
one. And what's the name for a molecule that has the same number of molecules but they're arranged slightly?
Our particular problem is getting the right teachers. Yeah, we can have lots of applications, but we have to discard so many of them because they're simply not up to it.
Teachers who make it to Townley take classes with a narrow ability range. Everyone here is potentially capable of getting top grades.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Hi, girls. Did you get a note to see me?
And for students in danger of dropping off the pace, there's the Phoenix Group, compulsory early morning revision sessions.
Hi, Georgina. How are you? Have you been in any of the Phoenix groups? OK, well, there's a maths one starting. The maths is starting on the 5th of December. It's compulsory.
I was going to go anyway.
Good, Harriet. You've been identified as needing a little bit of support in maths. OK, same routine, in for 20 minutes to 9.
Okay.
Make a note in your planner as well, Jasmine. Thank you, darling. Come in, girls, close the door. You spoke to me yesterday about joining the Phoenix group. Right, I spoke to Mr. Robinson, and he doesn't think you need it.
What?
Now, it's all based on last year's work, but it was the bottom 20 that are going into the Phoenix group. Sorry, girls. Thank you, girls. Morning, girls. Friday, best day of the week. Girls, I can still hear voices. Shh.
The pressure is real. Every Year 11 student at Townley is potentially at risk of losing their place at grammar school.
Girls, too noisy. Shh, shh, shh.
Good morning, Pre-Sixth Form.
Good morning, Miss Blaisby.
Right, can I have your attention then, please, ladies? We are preparing you for our Sixth Form, helping you with getting those examinations that you want so that you have a choice about Sixth Form and what subjects you're studying.
To get into Townley's renowned sixth form, they'll all need the equivalent of 8 grade Bs or better.
Entry requirement for Townley, 8 full course GCSE at grades 9 to 5 and an average point score of 5.75 in the best 8 subjects.
As the mock's coming up, there's a lot of pressure.
Tanisha's been summoned by Assistant Head Linda Blaisby.
Miss Blaisby. Sometimes I'm more scared of her than I am of my mum. She's so scary. When I'm in trouble, like when I get a slip to see her, like, oh yeah, you have to see Miss Blaisby at this time, blah, blah, blah. All I start thinking is, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done wrong?
OK, let me just get myself ready, Tanisha. Tanisha, why did you think I've asked to see you?
That's to do with my academic stuff.
Yeah, it's to do with your progress, isn't it, and how you're doing, etc. Because your average point score is a little bit lower than we would anticipate for the criteria coming into town and into sixth form. Now, English language on your 6 is the target, but you're on a 5, so that's slightly under. Okay, so chemistry, you're not quite as close on the prediction. one that you find a little bit harder?
Yeah, since year 9 I struggled with it.
Okay.
I have got an outside of school tutor now.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, for chemistry, and he's helping a lot as well.
Okay, so Mum and Dad are providing for that?
Yeah.
Now the Spanish is 2 under. Mathematics, you're 1 under slightly. Okay, so it's important now that we've had this discussion to see how you do in your next set of exams. But if the actual predicted grades are at this lower level, then I will obviously have to send a letter home just to say to your parents you're in a bit of a vulnerable position, lower than needed for sixth form.
I'm so scared. I've been a bit silly about things and I haven't started revising as early as I should have done. I wasn't proud of what I got. During the year 10 mocks, I got straight C's, I think a couple of C minuses. At Townley, a good grade and a pass is about an A. Getting an A is like, okay, I'm fine, I've got an A, it's okay. Whereas anything below that, they start panicking.
Hey, Bobby, stop it! Tyrone, stop it!
Go and pop it in the bin. You go.
At Erith, the pupils have a much wider range of abilities than Townley. Some children just missed out in the selection test. Others struggled just to stay in school.
Hey, Year 11, the last few, can we please hurry up and be seated? We have a lot to get through this morning. And some of you will be going on to interventions.
Head of Year 11, Mrs. Courtley, is overseeing a programme of revision classes for anyone who is falling behind. It's a sizable group.
Good morning, Year 11. There are going to be around 100 students that will be going off and doing interventions for different subjects.
If you know you are going to intervention right now, please stand and leave.
Not every student seems to be on board with the support programme.
Oliver, can we get the coat off, please? Right, the reason why I wanted to see you...
Oliver is in danger of failing his core subjects.
She had arranged for you to come in early on the Tuesday to do the English intervention. You didn't attend that, did you?
No.
And why didn't you attend that?
Because, I don't know, I forgot, innit?
Yeah, so English intervention's been put in place for you and pack of work for you to collect for you to work on. And you've not collected that. OK, but you've got to appreciate that what it looks like is you're not really bothered. I would suggest that you go and see her today and you apologise for not collecting it. See, even now you look like you're not interested.
I am, but I don't see why I have to apologise.
I think you need to make a bit more effort. If people are putting that amount of support in place for you. Right, off you go. Right.
Are you going to pass his core subjects?
He's a 3 for English, so he has the potential to obviously get a C grade if he works, which is why he was put in the English intervention. A lot of his other subjects he's like 2s, so he's a way off of where he needs to be. Which is why we are working really hard to put all of these interventions, why we've got after-school revision, but Oliver's obviously not attending that. The revision classes, you can't force them to attend. I get parents ringing up every day telling me my student needs extra support in maths and English, but we have free revision classes after school all week, every week, that they're choosing not to attend.
Right, you lot, guys, always go down to G27, please, the one just on the left. Just waiting there for further instructions. Nice and quietly, guys, hurry up, please, thank you.
One of the biggest challenges the school faces is low-level disruption in classes.
So anybody who's caught throwing paper or shooting paper in the room will be removed from the class immediately. You will not get a second chance.
Mr. Romanovich is part of the overstretched science department.
What's the problem, sir? This young man was shooting things in the room, so he needs to be removed.
Throwing stuff around, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, you can just go to G25, please. These 2 students have been removed from their science class because they were throwing stuff at the teacher.
And the biggest driver is the teacher shortage, really.
It's the fact that we've got a lot of cover teachers in supply. They tend to have less respect from the students to start off with because they're not regular. They tend to be less informed about the behaviour management process of the school. So that whole getting away with thing that I talked about, students who have supply teachers long term tend to get away with more negative behaviours because they're not going to get chased up for it.
If you get in a lot of trouble, what's probably happen now is your parents are going to be called in for a meeting. You want to continue to lose your daytimes, after schools, early mornings, keep behaving this way, right?
I don't really care. But...
Yeah, that's fine.
It affects grades, doesn't it? In every class, you've got a majority of students who are working absolutely fine. Those students are having their, they get their education disrupted regularly in classes where there is constant disruption. Those students don't get the grades.
Enzymes, bacteria, breathing.
And if you think about the types of classes where you typically have more behaviour management issues than not, would be in sort of usually lower ability classes. And arguably those students need more help and more structure, more guidance in their learning. So when that gets disrupted, it does a big effect on their progress.
Because typically the students at Era School will be a lot more challenging for our staff to work with than teachers in a grammar school.
Miss, who's the problem?
Katie.
Get your bag, please, Katie. Just go and sit in my room, please.
If you look at a grammar school, they're probably a lot easier for the teacher just to concentrate on the academic and the learning.
Add O2 plus 2E minus.
And if you've got students of high ability in your class, then obviously that will have an influence on the rest of the learners in that room. That top 25% would help drag the rest of them up.
And measure the kinetic energy
of the particles, yeah. Those at the higher end will inspire their peers.
I think what selection provides you with is an opportunity to push the envelope in an environment which you can't replicate in a comprehensive sector. It's for students who have gone through this system, who are able and hardworking and have supportive parents on the most part. Actually, this gives them the best possible opportunity.
Tonight, it's Townley Grammar's sixth form open evening.
Hello, welcome to Townley. If you need any help, there are people in Red Sashes that can help to match you.
Places in the sixth form are open to anyone who makes the grade. Townley girls face stiff competition from other local schools.
We build our sixth form around what you want to become, not what we want to brag about. Townley doesn't have an A-level programme, it has 5 A-level programmes, with 27 different A-levels to choose from, all taught at the highest level. So the choice really is yours, but to make that choice, you need to meet a criteria. No interviews, no references, just your results. So I'd just like to conclude before you go and see the subject areas to all of the students here, the very best of luck with your GCSE examinations this year. Thank you.
6, but I'm a bit early.
That way then, please.
Thank you.
Denisa has got her heart set on getting into Townley sixth form.
What subject do you want to see first?
Maybe English literature, government and politics. That's fine. Okay, thank
It's been her dream ever since she failed the selection test when she was 11.
It was such a weird day. My mum, she came with the envelope, and even though I was really nervous, I was like, Mum, just open it, get it out of my way. And she opened it and I failed. I had a look and it said that I didn't get in and I was devastated.
So which way's history? Oh, just on there.
No one from my primary school actually passed it, so it made me feel a bit better because I wasn't the only one.
Oh, well, actually, we start off looking at religious beliefs at the time and how they affect belief in witchcraft, or how they affect scepticism about witchcraft.
Hi, Ola. Okay. This is my sister, guys. Oh, do you know her? Oh my God, it's my sister.
Denise's big sister Ola is already at Townley sixth form.
Guys, you know English? Is it just, which room is it? Is it just down there? All right, thank you. This place is very different to Iris.
I know.
Oh.
You all get to terms with it. It's like, everyone, I got used to it, so you can get used to it as well.
We want to
You
come
will fit in here, so no, it's a good school, like.
It is nerve-wracking though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really like it because
You know, it's always been like a really good interest of mine coming to Townley. I've always wanted to go here. Obviously, I was really upset when I didn't pass my 11th class.
Yeah, you still have the chance to come for sixth form, so you still get to experience it. You know, with maths, do you really think I'll be able to do it? I think so. It's a good A level to have, Denisa, because it opens so many doors.
I know,
it's a bit busy.
Yeah.
I think there's a queue.
Just like Denisa, Ola failed the 11 plus and went to Erith. By the time she took her GCSEs, she was a star pupil.
What were your grades?
I got 6 A stars and 5 A's, and then I got 1 A star in further maths. I got the grades at GCSE at Erith. The work ethic there is very, very different. As long as the student is committed to putting in the work themselves, then they can do that. At the end of the day, I've got good GCSE grades, and I'm here now and I'm doing my A levels, and I'm applying to universities, and I've got offers.
I feel like with Erith, you're surrounded by a load of people that aren't
they don't have dreams, basically. They don't want to do something after school. So, whereas here, it's very,
I feel like
very
at
different.
Townley, everyone is competitive, so they all it makes you want to do just as good as them.
Adding another 5 is not as hard as just 10 from scratch.
Before, we were talking about you doing 3 subjects that were serious.
That's if I'm staying.
That's good, yeah, this is true.
Tanisha's worried she hasn't got what it takes to stay on for Townley sixth form, but her mum has got other ideas.
We're thinking of taking maths and further maths if I can, and then try and get into Imperial University or Warwick as well.
We need to turn the can't into a can.
Yeah, because I don't think I'll be able to do it, I'm not sure.
It's all, I can't do it, I'm not sure. No, we need to do this. Tanisha is, believe it or not, thinking of taking maths at A level.
I've inspired her, haven't I?
Apparently so, all these years. Gets better and further maths.
Okay, you've got to think.
This is what we
No, it's fine. Yeah, I need to know.
You've really got to think about this. Okay. Why further maths? What have you thought in terms of career progression? Have you thought about universities?
I think I want to study maths at uni.
Why have you decided that you want to study maths at uni?
Obviously, there's a lot of women needed in that industry right now. So computer science, physics and maths I thought was a good...
Yeah, it is. Maths itself is hard, and it's very different from what we do at GCSE. Times that by 10. The algebra is much harder.
Harder than what we're doing now?
Much harder, which is why we put down the minimum grade of 7.
What's the requirement for further maths? Level 8?
We will be able to indicate on the basis of Tanisha's assessment whether, in our opinion, she'll be able to cope with further maths. But however, if you don't enjoy whatever subject it is that you have taken for A-level, trust me, it is just going to be pure agony.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
This is going to be a really silly question. Should I take maths?
Yes.
All right. But speaking to Miss Shetty, and obviously I've known her for years.
Right, and she's put a doubt in your mind now.
Yeah, because now I feel like she doesn't think I'm good enough.
Is the way, it's the way she kind of just went,
Yeah,
that's what it was, isn't
exactly.
it? Tanisha, you can't think like that. Like Tanisha, who's just been to normal primary school, she's done the 11 plus, she's stood it through, sheer hard work, she's passed. She's not naturally extremely bright, she has to work hard. So it's a lot for her to end up somewhere like here and then to feel quite average now. Suddenly they've gone into year 11 and all the support's available, and it's very much, you're getting extra after school support, you're getting lunchtime support.
I feel like there's no acceptance of not doing as best as, not getting the complete 100% in every single test.
They're high achievers. So I think you weigh up, do you just now bite the bullet with these important years and you'll achieve really well and you'll be successful?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a hard decision to make, but all in all, I think if you want to achieve well, it's a good place to be.
With just a few weeks until the mocks at Erith, Mr. Appiah Gates still hasn't found a new science teacher. He's taken a drastic decision.
We've
made a decision to reset all the classes. We've basically disbanded that class which were causing us problems, and we've spread those students out amongst the other 3 classes. You realise the purpose of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So it's to make sure that you've got...
got a teacher.
Exactly, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The students who have been moved to the new groups will probably appreciate being in front of a qualified teacher.
The top band classes will increase from 23 pupils to 30.
Part of the things I really cherish and I appreciate is hard work. So if you're a lazy one, you're not going to find it easy with us at all. We work hard in my class. As I used to tell my students, when it is time for you to talk, you will talk. But whenever I'm addressing you, I'm saying the most important thing at that time. So you will listen. What were you learning in your former class, please?
Well, I've got here combustible fuels and pollution, so like hydrocarbons, but...
That's chemistry you're doing. So I will try as much as possible either to organize another lesson for those of you that are just joining. It could just be half an hour after school for another few lessons to cover what you have learned and you have not. Okay?
With her mocks looming, Denisa finally has a full-time teacher for all her subjects.
I'm really nervous about the mocks. Again, I'm really happy that Mr. Gates did solve the problem of us not having a teacher. I just want to do really well, to be honest, that's all. So revision is key.
Got about 3 or 4 weeks into our mocks, which isn't long.
Do you think students in grammar school would have been in the same situation you've been in?
In grammar schools, they wouldn't even have a supply, personally. I think grammar schools, they're very organised, so I honestly tell myself this, I really wish I got into a grammar school. I know people that go to grammar schools, if they ever have to miss anything, they make sure that they supply them with work that they need to learn. It's much better there. They're very lucky because they don't have the same sort of experiences, I guess.
For an able student sitting in Erith, is it fair on that person right now?
There's an issue with fairness, and I think that's what's complicated the educational agenda. If you interpret fairness as everybody has the same, then no, it's not fair. But nobody has the same. Nobody has the same family background or experience. Nobody has the same geographical location. There's a divide between north and south educationally. That's not fair either. So you will find countless numbers of unfairness. I think what you need to build in young people is our ability to offset the unfairness that's there.
Miss, can I go Holly Hill?
Erith has a responsibility to support all students as they plan their next steps.
If you look at Bexley College in North West Kent, you want to look at the courses.
I want to be a physiotherapist.
Okay, so you'd need to do either sports science at A level.
Yeah,
Yes, you can do that at school, or you could do that at college.
I'll do it at college.
Right, so
Mrs. Courtley is determined to try and sort out what Oliver will be doing next year.
right, what are you interested in?
Physiotherapy.
You definitely want to do that.
Yes.
You know you'll need your science.
Yes.
You're dead at science. Square. What do you mean I'm
You'll
dead at
need
science?
an A to C in science.
Yeah, I'll get A in
English
science.
and maths and PE.
Yeah, that's cool. You're just underestimating me, man.
I'm not underestimating you. I'm saying you need to make yourself aware so you know what you're focusing on.
I know. What are you doing there? Electrical.
I'm gonna do an electrician course, and my dad can get me an apprenticeship. I'm gonna do that, get paid for that. But you can do that with me. My dad will get you an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
That's only if you want to do it, because I'm actually
Electrical.
serious.
Right, we
about
could
it.
start our own
That's what I'm
business, you know.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Real talk.
We can do a private hire, and people
But
pay
just
like,
2 of us.
No, people
Don't hire no
people
one,
pay, no, I mean like people pay like 5 bills for a call out.
Yeah,
so we
that's
could
calm.
be sleeping in bed in it. Someone call us out.
That's
Get
calm.
like 5 bills for that.
Just keep your phone on loud, innit? I don't want to do sport science now.
Sport and exercise science. Are you being serious?
No, I'm actually being serious. I was thinking about electrician. What I'm going to do, miss, I'm going to have a think and I'll come back to you
Right,
on
can
it,
you
yeah?
have a look at this over the weekend?
Yeah, but
and come back
thank
and
you
see
for
me
your
on
help.
Monday,
Thank you
because
for your help.
At the moment, I'm like spending time and you don't really know what you want.
I know.
I'll
give you a free electrician.
All right.
Yeah, I'll come do your house with electrics.
Okay, I think bearing in mind my husband's an electrician,
Oh, yeah.
we don't need that.
Oh yeah, your husband would do that.
Right, boys, go.
We'll be out of business by the time we get over.
students that don't want to make an effort with their grades feel that they're so far behind, they don't see the point in doing it because they're not going to get any grades anyway. Whereas with a grammar school, you know, students know that they have the potential to get higher grades. We also have students that come in with really low Key Stage 2 data that are not going to be able to get those grades, and they know that. You're trying to give them those aspirations, but for some students, they know it's not a possibility, you know, to go and be a lawyer or a doctor because, you know, they're going to struggle to get anywhere near a grade C in English, Maths and Science.
For any girl who watches TV and goes, I can Snapchat, I can Skype, I can Facebook, I can multitask, and I can do my science homework. Watch. Draw a square right now in front of your face. There is one...
At Townley, things are ramping up. Nothing is left to chance. They've brought in an exam guru.
Now make your right leg do a clockwise circle. You are now multitasking and your brain is freaking out. We cannot multitask. Everybody relax. Put your name on the front, first and last name. Then write 2 words. First word, year 11, the. Followed by edge. What gets me the edge? What gets me to hit my potential and get the grades I deserve? You're looking at anything that gives you an advantage.
Still 1 or 2 to come, I think. Ah, jolly good. Tick. Done the right thing. Both sheets, please.
For Tanisha, it means early morning revision in the Phoenix group.
Why is that wrong? That is wrong. Can anyone tell me why that's wrong?
Because they're not both the same.
Exactly. Iron is much bigger. Iron is bigger, sulphur is smaller.
So what if coincidentally you have the same amount of both? Then would
What, same number of both?
same mass of both? No, it has to
Yeah, if they were the same mass, that'd be fine. At least the same number of them.
What's the
not-
difference between a number and a mass?
The number is how many of them, the mass is how heavy they are. Because iron is bigger than sulphur.
So one of sulphur it weighs different to one of iron.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why don't you just...
The grammar school want you to actually do well. They want you to get the 7, 8s and 9s, and they will do anything to make sure you get there. And they'll spoon feed you if you have to. I've been spoon fed. Tanisha, do this now. Now do this. Now make sure you do this, and you'll get there.
You want A's? Yep. A's. A's. Remember, coats off, equipment out, ready to drop your bag and go straight to the sea. Coats off, remember.
At Erith, it's finally time for mock GCSE exams.
Question.
Well, and a month important.
Not really.
I just hope I pass. If I can pass, then I'll be really happy. I prefer revising in the morning, so for this one I woke up at 5 so I could just do some more revision. But when I have other exams, I'll maybe like wake up at 6 and do maybe about an hour. But mainly maths and like other subjects, I'll stay up between 9:30 to 10 o'clock because that's where I find it more effective. They're so difficult, and obviously I need to do really well because I need good predicted grades because it's getting sent off to sixth forms, and they just need to. I need to do really well.
Well, I don't know where I am. Hey, Lewis. Hey, am I in? Oh, we're in this one, but we was in it yesterday, man.
As soon as you are in this hall, you are under exam conditions. If you cannot comply to those rules, you will be removed from the exam and you will not get a grade.
Down the road at Townley, mocks are underway too.
Hey, it's a bit stressful right now. We spoke to my friend's maths teacher, and she said that the test is really, really hard. Yeah, the one we're about to go into.
So what you can be doing now is just taking a breath, getting yourself calm. You're already prepared. There's nothing more you need to do now. The assumption is you have bright students who come into a school, then they're going to leave bright. You haven't really done a lot with them. Actually, we take them on a journey even then, and they perform even better.
Research casts doubt on whether grammar school students do significantly better than they would if they'd gone to normal schools.
Right, yeah, you two guys, can you move forward?
And some research shows that the existence of grammars negatively affects children who don't get through the 11+.
I think sometimes it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, you tell a student when they're 11 that all of a sudden, oh, you know, you didn't pass this test, that means you've got to do this type of education. Although I'm very passionate about the type of education we provide and the quality of it, you know, think about the message you're telling that student when they're 11. You're almost, if, you know, without their level of understanding of how the world works, that student might easily be tricked into thinking that all of a sudden their life's been mapped out in a particular way. So it can be quite a barrier. However, it can also have the adverse effect. We have students who fail and they go on to do absolutely great things. We've certainly got a number of students in here in the top bands who are, you know, they wouldn't be out of place in any grammar stream or anything like that.
Some studies have found that secondary modern students do a bit worse overall in their GCSEs than children with similar ability in areas which don't have grammars.
Certainly there is evidence to support that, but there's no evidence so far to support the fact that students in a non-selective school in a selective area do worse because they are in a selective area. If they're not performing as well in a non-selective school in a selective area, why is that? Is it simply because they don't have the able students around there in order to somehow have a sort of cathartic effect? Why assume in a non-selective school that it's the existence of brighter students that actually makes the positive difference or not?
It was so bad, oh my god. Was it a real like GCSE or was it like a specimen paper? I didn't check the front. I don't know. I really don't know. I only left out 2 questions, but the ones that I answered, I'm not very happy with the quality of what I've written because it was mainly a guessing game, not gonna lie, because I didn't understand it.
It will be several weeks before they discover how they've done.
Finally done! It was the nicest paper to finish on as well. Do you not think? It was a nice paper. And the Moses stuff as well. Yeah, everything we revised came up.
I was chatting rubbish. I was just saying, just let this be over. I didn't care what I was writing. I just said I want it to be over. Just tell me when it's time and I'm good. I want it to be over.
Townley head Desmond Dean isn't just a defender of the selective system. He's decided to put his money where his mouth is, to try and show that secondary modern schools can thrive alongside grammars. Townley and Erith are going to be joined together in a multi-academy trust, or MAT, linking the schools forever.
So we're very similar in many respects. So we're large secondaries. We draw from the same communities. Where the differences lie is Townley having an outstanding Ofsted judgment and Erith having failings that they need to address within their Ofsted judgment.
Effectively, what we want to show is that selection isn't the issue. The issue is the segregation caused by selection. The educational community at large separates these entities out and creates an animosity between them, so they stop collaborating. We want to demonstrate, actually, if you worked together, collaborated, then actually grammar schools become a force for good.
Nice there from you. Nice to see you. Yeah, thanks.
We had a visit from the Regional School Commissioner office and they made it very clear we would need support from a MAT or from a school. He's not a typical stereotype head teacher of a grammar school because his background is very different to coming through that system. So that was interesting, that intrigued me. So I have every belief that me and Desmond can work well together. And I don't see any conflict. I've asked Desmond to attend because we've got to the point now where we've been given the provisional approval that we're going to form a MAT together.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about the process so you understand why we're here now. I come from a comprehensive school. I'm the youngest of 6 children. My father was a labourer and I didn't have a grammar school education. How can we now take some of what we've managed to do at Townley and share it under a wider community?
We firmly believe that with the 2 schools working together in partnership,
we can provide opportunities and life chances for your son and your daughter that are unique and unparalleled. You will be the first parents to have the opportunity to choose not just one school, but 2 schools in tandem.
The system remains very controversial. The majority of teachers oppose its expansion. Opponents argue there is no evidence that selection improves overall attainment and that it reinforces divisions within society. But the debate is well and truly back on the agenda, and all eyes will be on these schools to see if Desmond's plan can work.
You've got a non-selective, which is on the doorstep, which to all intents and purposes by the sort of Twitterati would say actually is because it suffers because we're here. And instead of actually treating us as the problem, are looking to us as the solution. That's the particularly unique thing. That's a complete turnaround. That's a mindset which just isn't there, education.
Stephanie has set aside her reservations about selective education.
Our students are capable. My school improvement needs some aspiration. A grammar school would be ideal because our school is in a selective area. So why are we competing? Why don't we work together?
But the marriage of the 2 schools won't come in time for this year's GCSE students. At Townley, the results are in, and it's time for pupils to find out if they're on course to get into the 6th form.
So this here is, the reason we put this on is because of going into 6th form. For September 2018, it has to be 5.75 and above. Tanisha is just above that. Currently, she is eligible to return to 6th form.
For Tanisha, it's good news. She's back on track.
Okay, I'm over it, but I'm not over it by a lot, so I need to still push to get a decent amount over it. I'm happy I'm in the school I am because I feel like in a comprehensive school, I wouldn't have got the constant, come on Tanisha, come on. They were just focused on the kids who could do it instead of the kids who can't.
Hello, it's results day. Kill me now. I'm quite nervous. Oh, I'm so nervous.
At Erith, Denisa and her friends are also getting their results.
I don't like this. This is time to cry. Let's not. Where's Sugar? Oh my god, that's so good!
What does it say for science?
Science. I definitely passed it, but I'm not actually sure. Like, I passed all my subjects. Obviously, I've got a lot to improve on, but they're not as bad as I thought they'd be. Yeah, same here.
Denise's mock results place her just below what she needs to get to Townley 6th form, but there's still everything to play for.
So, in my opinion, the results that Denise and Sam have got are well below what they should be at the moment. I think they can make it up, but I'll be expecting them to get slightly higher grades than they have at the moment.
When I got that result, I was like, okay, I can work from here. We've still got a while to improve. I think, obviously with GCSEs in May and June, there's still time. I want to make sure that I'm calm and I'll just do everything that I can because I can't change mocks. What happened in mocks was then, this is now. I just have to make sure that I work on and on and on.